Roosters enforcer Victor Radley had been ordered off a plane on the Gold Coast last Saturday, and his coach seemed none too pleased with Victor when he fronted the media earlier today.
It's really frustrating. You know, if you, we don't want that in general public, let alone someone that wears the colours every week, and it's disappointing and it shouldn't happen. It's not what we want from our players, so just don't do it. Just act like a man in public and behave yourself. It's pretty simple. It's not that difficult. Hand up who's got on a flight before. Like, how hard is it to get on a flight and get home? He's a good man who wants to be one of the boys, and he has to assume that responsibility of being an NRL footballer and a leader at a club, and we don't want to act that way. People look up to Rads. He's a really good man, he's got good principles, and he wants to be a lad sometimes, and that's not what we need from him, that's not what the game needs from him, not what the kids that look up to him need from him, so he needs to assume that quickly.
Look, everyone has much affection for Victor Radley, including his coach, but you could tell there he's very disappointed. I mean, if that's what he's prepared to say publicly, what did he say privately?
Well, I'm told Victor Radley had his tail firmly between his legs at training today and was apologising to all who would listen after that. I mean, surely he got that privately and a very public basting as well. And Trent Robinson really summed it up there. It's not acceptable. He loves his players. He loves Victor Radley more than anything for everything he brings on the field and the larrikin that he is off it. But there's a line, and the Roosters are a strong enough club to say, that's it, and you crossed it.
He's crossed it a couple of times now, Buzz.
I'll tell you what I think was disappointing. I think their culture when Trent Robinson started wasn't all that great. And even Freddie, remember his latter year as a coach, was in trouble, and wasn't he caught knocking on a hotel room when he was full? And Nate Miles, Todd Carney, and he has worked really hard in that 8-9 years to rectify that. And he's brought some he had Sonny Bill Williams there, and he had Cooper Cronk there, outstanding citizens, outstanding men. Then Boyd Cordner latched on and Jake Friend latched on. And this is where it's disappointing that Victor is now a senior player. And look, I don't want to be too hard on him. He was with a group of blokes that had too much to drink, but they shouldn't be in a position to get hoiked off a plane.
I'll defend Victor. Yes, he's done the wrong thing, but he's a larrikin, he's a character. You would not find a person in the game or who supports the game who does not love the way that Victor Radley plays, and also the character that he is away from the field. You played with Alan Langer, you played with Kevin Walters, those style of players. They are big personalities, and sometimes big personalities can, part of having that in your makeup is that you redline all of the time, and at times you can fizz a little bit over the edge.
Jimmy, unless the Roosters treat this seriously though, their next breed, their young players coming through, will expect the same treatment that Victor Radley got. They've got to come down hard. I was pleased Robbo addressed it like he did today.
It's a good point you make though. So that's the delicate balance inside the team environment, because the geniuses are often flawed. Now this bloke will go to places for you on the field that not many will. I remember Wayne Bennett once said about Neville Costigan, he said, I had plenty of blokes that were willing to die for me. He said, but only a few were prepared to kill for me. And Nev Costigan was one of them. And Victor Radley fits that mould. And so to have that psychology on the field, sometimes to Hoop's point, particularly when you've had a few on board, things spill over.
If you go back over all the champions, whether it was Joey Johns, whether it was Freddie Fittler, all of them had a little bit of that rogue nick in them.
They were the old days, Jimmy,
they
before
were.
social media.
Phil, can I finish?
You can.
On the scale of 1 to 10, on the Richter scale of atrocities, this is a 1. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, look, you know what the interesting thing is going to be is the NRL's handling of it, and whether they show consistency with it. He's got a $10,000 fine suspended, correct? From early in the season.
From over
I think they'll have to activate that, and I think it'd be fair if they did.
What's your sense of it, Lara? Where do you think the NRL will go with this?
They're looking at it at the moment, I believe, and the club's also provided witness statements around the severity or what really unfolded. But just back on the man management style, that's part of the genius of Trent Robinson, is that he doesn't treat everyone the same, in that they find the quirks around the player. But again, if you don't have to have standards, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Do you think the NRL should fine him the $10,000?
They will be, Lara, they will.
Yeah,
like, it's cost him, it's an expensive exercise for Victor, because essentially it's a $10,000 weekend, minimum.
But guys, David
I think
Fifita...
on past experiences, they have fined players. Penny Terapo, I think, was a player who got fined for a similar incident involving alcohol.
This would be a good way for the governing body to ram home the message. Mate, we believe in you. You have great potential, but get this right or you're going to be out of the game very quick. So here's another $10,000 just to remind you that we expect more of you than what you gave us last weekend.
And you know what? They've hit David Fifita with 20 grand today. So how can they hit him for 20 grand for an incident?
That's a fair point.
No police involvement whatsoever, but he's been hit with 20K.
He was, I think that's slightly different.